And this looks like a really fun cooperative boss battler where players are going to be choosing their characters at the start of the game, then also choosing a boss to go up against, and of course trying to defeat that boss before the boss defeats them. But something that I really love about this game is the way that the characters work, because each character is going to have the normal hero state, then they also have their shattered state. And when you go into your shattered state, you're going to be a little bit more vulnerable, but you're also going to be a lot more powerful. So even though you might be more of a glass cannon in this state, you will want to trigger it at some point in the game if your health gets too low, since it's going to reset your stats and charge your health back up to full. And the way that players play this game is by using this combat board, and you're going to be putting your selected boss out in the middle of the board, along with their boss card, which is going to dictate their different abilities, as well as a number of dice that they get to roll in their turn. And the board has a number of lanes where the boss will be issuing its attacks to, and each of these lanes are associated with a different value of a die. So when you do go ahead and roll the die on the boss's turn, that's essentially going to say which lane its attack is going to get issued to, and you're going to be drawing that from its stamina deck. Each player gets 2 actions per turn, and their characters are going to stay within these blue squares for the entirety of the game. At the start of the game, you can put your character in any spot that you want, but depending on the character that you're playing as and the different abilities that they have access to, it might dictate whether or not you want to be in the front column or the back column, because that's going to have different effects in combination with your character and their abilities, but that might also change as you develop more abilities or different situations come up within the game. Players are going to be rolling dice as dictated by their character card, as well as use the different abilities they have access to in order to attack the cards in their lane. And whenever you defeat a card, it's going to go back to the fatigue deck on the monster side of the board. But of course, making these attacks and using these different abilities can use up a certain number of magic points, which you might want to refresh at some point in the game. And also, whenever you defeat an enemy, it's going to add a certain amount of threat to your character, and that's something you'll want to keep an eye on, because anytime that your threat reaches its maximum amount, that's going to put you into your shattered state permanently. And like I said before, you might want to time that depending on the situation in the game. Of course, there's also your health to worry about, because you don't want to die, so there is also a refresh action you can take in order to manage your magic points, your health status effects, or to try and reduce your threat. And on the enemy's turn, you're going to be flipping up 1 card in each lane where there is a character, and then that's going to let you know what sort of effect that card's going to have. It can issue damage, it can also cause additional threat, and even have some other effects. Some of these cards are much worse than the others, so that means that players are going to want to try and permanently get rid of those ones first. But that's easier said than done, because as I said, when you defeat a card, it just puts that card into the enemy's fatigue area, and that does not permanently get rid of the card. Instead, that just becomes its new draw deck as soon as its stamina deck runs out. But this is a really important point in the game, because when that stamina deck does run out, it's going to put the enemy into a staggered state. And what this means is that when the enemy is in that state, any of the cards that you're able to defeat, instead of going into the fatigue pile, will go into a permanent discard. And you can think of this as actually dealing damage to the enemy, because if you're able to get all the cards over to that permanent discard pile, then you have won the game. Or I guess I should say you have almost won the game, because as soon as you get to that point, the enemy's going to flip over to their enraged side, and there might be some final things that you have to deal with before you can walk away scot-free. A really interesting game here, and I think it's another one that has a really solid design, so if this one looks interesting to you, you can go ahead and sign up to get notified on their website, or if the campaign has launched, you can check it out for yourself, and you can find links to their website in the description below.